At the Faceoff X, it's the preseason All-American Alex Woodall for Towson. And we'll see probably a three-headed monster for Hopkins, but the start goes to Kyle Prouty at the X. And we are underway for the 2019 season for both Towson and Hopkins. And the first possession goes to the Tigers, wearing those throwback gold uniforms with the throwback looking lids as well. Fun story, Steve, about that this week. As soon as Hopkins saw that Towson was going with the throwback lids, they decided, you know what, we're going to go with them today as well. They were in the works for this season, but decided they were going to move it up a little bit, make sure that both those helmets were throwback looking for this game.
Well, you didn't think Hopkins was going to let Towson outdo him here early in the season, so both teams looking fresh.
A cause turnover right away for the Blue Jays, a loose ball, and it's picked up by Danny Jones, the short stick D-Midi. And Hopkins goes to work for the first time today. So look at Cole Williams, a guy who has such incredible upside. When you talk to Coach Dave Petramala, he's done so much in his career, but thought he could have even been better as a sophomore when he scored 35 goals. Talked to him in the preseason, said, you know what, when we looked at the tape, he probably could have scored 50. Also got to look at Forey Smith, who's actually getting the start in the midfield. He's technically an attackman as the ball stripped away here by Towson. And it's scooped up by Gray Bodden. Bowden able to create the turnover and pushes ahead.
Coach Nads was a bit concerned about the full field action early part of the season, and they haven't been able to get up and down as much as they would like. So that's something to watch for. Rides, clears, transition offense, how those guys look here in this first game with not having a lot of action up and down for them.
There's a look at Greg I, a transfer from Penn State, playing in his first collegiate game. Bounce shot way off, but Towson there for the backup. Backed up by Brody McLean. He's number 7 in gold. You got a whistle, and I believe it's a shot clock issue. It did reset here to 80, but I don't believe that got on cage. It's something with the new rules that we will go through throughout the beginning part of this season is figuring out what shots go on cage and the signals and the repetition for just everybody that's going to be running these clocks on each of these sites.
Even the clock operators,
yeah.
You need someone good up there that knows what they're doing. It's going to be new for everybody. Like you said, the players, the coaches, the officials, the operators, and even us calling the game. So it's we'll have to get the early season jitters out and get used to this.
And it goes back down to 45, so it's all set. And the Towson possession continues. This is Brody McLean, junior from Bolton, Ontario. Tough pass, sloppy pass for Towson here early, and a transition chance for Hopkins.
Starts with aggressive defense from Hopkins, playing that pick at X. They just jumped out and doubled it right away. When you're the offensive player with the ball, if they're going to double team you, you've got to run away from pressure, run away from trouble, and move it on right away. Towson's got to recognize that double's coming off the pick, move it, and catch that defense as it's rotating.
Forey Smith sends it behind, and Cole Williams will trigger from there. Williams draws a slide and tosses back out to the top. Thrown away there a little bit by Kincannon, but Williams there to pick it up. In front, Forey Smith, and the Blue Jays are on the board first here in 2019.
Just a simple pass and catch. You've got to be on the inside. When you're playing off-ball defense and you're on the inside, you've got to be all over your guy's hands. And right there, Forey Smith does a nice job. He presents his stick, a little bit of a step back, and able to rip that bounce shot. But Towson defensively, that's a simple play. You just got to be covered up inside out, and you can't let guys be free and get their hands free on the inside.
A nice assist there by Cole Williams as well, a guy who is continuing to learn to distribute the ball more. Forey Smith Just 2 goals a season ago. He's already got 1, but Alex Woodall quickly wins the next faceoff. Quick shot and a score. The Tigers answer. It's Brendan Sunday on the board.
And that's the type of advantage that Towson needs. Woodall has got to do this for them all day. He wins it clean out the front, does a good job of drawing the point defenseman, finds Sunday, and then he's just in a great position, step down and let it rip and tie this thing up at 1.
Big time answer for the Tigers here early on. And that is certainly a spot where the Tigers believe they have an advantage at the faceoff X with the veteran in Woodall. Alex Woodall going 60% at the X a year ago. Coach Sean Nadelin was telling the Inside Lacrosse podcast earlier this week that Alex Woodall really came back in incredible shape this year and is something that has them really thinking this could be a special season for him.
Well, you would think with the new shot clock and some of the new rules, there's going to be more goals, there's going to be more action. So as a face-off guy, you've got to be prepared to take anywhere from 15 to 20% more face-offs per game. So you've got to be in the best shape. So a smart decision by him, getting his body tuned up and right, because again, he might be seeing a lot more draws this year.
This is Brett Baskin, the midfielder for Hopkins. The midfield unit, one of the big question marks for the Blue Jays coming into 2019, and we see it in the start as Forey Smith, who's technically an attackman, gets the nod in the starting midfield. That shot never got through, as Jack Keogh, another one of those starting midfielders, couldn't put it on frame. Shot clock stays at 36. And it will be interesting to watch this Blue Jays midfield develop throughout today and throughout the beginning part of this season.
Well, we talked to Coach Petramala, about his things he liked, things he was, slightly concerned with, and the first thing he said was the youth at the midfield.
Kobe Smith wants to go. It hits the bar, resets the shot clock. Sky-high rebound. Jack Rapine grabs it, and he looks to split 2, but loses it. Mad scramble, ends up at the stick of Jake McLean, and it settles down here for the Tigers. Here comes the All-American Goodrich. Shot a little wide, but backed up there by Towson. Zach Goodrich, a short stick defensive midfielder, one of the best in the nation. But with the new shot clock rules, the question will remain to be watched here for Towson is how much does he stay on and play a little bit more offense in the transition?
Well, it's nice if you can keep those offensive middies on, create some matchups, and also wear them out a little bit on the defensive side. It's always a plus for you, and he's the type of player that can do that. 6'2", 200 pounds, just a really dynamic player. He can really do it all for this Towson team.
Here's our player to watch, Grant Maloof, number 13 in gold. Working against Danny Jones, the short stick D-midi for Hopkins. Timmy Monahan loses it and pushed ahead by Rapine. Some good defensive moves from Hopkins in the settled 6-on-6 here early, but an inadvertent pass, and it goes right back to the Tigers. It's something we've seen throughout college lacrosse here in the early going, adjusting to the new clearing rules and the new clearing situation, 20 seconds to get over midfield. It's been sloppy at times, some confusion.
Yeah, it has been sloppy here at the outset. Couple turnovers. Give credit to Hopkins defense. They've been aggressive, put the ball on the ground a few times here, really taking it to some of these Towson players one-on-one. But, yeah, you're right. A little sloppy here early on from both teams.
Greg I carries. Now over to the attackman, Brendan Sunday. He's got the one and only goal for Towson so far. Skip pass across to the first stave there for Ryan Darby. Some issues clearing, but it's scooped up. And a chance to get an offensive possession for Hopkins.
Good stop from Darby. Saw it the whole way. Stood on that pipe, stayed tall. Good job seeing that ball. Not guessing, stayed high the whole time, tracked it. Good early save from him.
This is Connor DeSimone, the sophomore from Smithtown East High School in New York. Had a nice freshman season, and he goes top shelf for the score. Connor DeSimone on the board, and Hopkins back up 1.
Connor DeSimone, probably the most experienced guy that they've got back on that offensive midfield for them. Does a nice job here, just an alley dodge. Towson's got to be showing off of goal line extended there. Got to be showing too much respect to the attackman behind. You got to help your defenseman out. Number 33's got to be a little higher, and even off of the crease, they got to show a little bit there. DeSimone recognizes that nobody's coming, does a good job of dodging to his left hand and getting himself free.
Connor DeSimone, one of the few midfielders that was a known quantity here coming into the season for the Blue Jays. Number 5 freshman in the nation last year, coming in here to Hopkins, and he's off to a good start in his sophomore season. But Woodall wins the next face-off quickly. And just like in the first goal, Towson able to answer with a quick face-off win and another possession.
And that's why Woodall could be the equalizer here today. You know, you give up a goal, but you get the ball right back. You know, when the other team is scoring and winning face-offs, it keeps that pressure on you. Your defense starts to get worn down, but now they can rest a little bit. They can communicate, talk things through on the sideline and on the field. Like I said, he's the equalizer. Even if Hopkins tries to go on a run, if he's winning face-offs like he's done early on here.
Ray Pine able to scoop up the loose ball in front as McLean couldn't get that shot on frame. And another chance to clear. Here comes Casey Wasserman. May recognize that name. His brother Bryce played at Monmouth and now a member of the Ohio Machine in Major League Lacrosse. Getting a chance here in his sophomore year to contribute for the Blue Jays. Excuse me, that was not Casey Wasserman. That was Matt Hubler, the short stick defensive midfielder for Hopkins.
First time you see Hopkins in a little bit of an invert set.
This is Cole Williams. He's got his defender caught up. Skip pass up top. Joey Epstein's first shot of his freshman season. Shot wide, but backed up by Williams. Quick restart.
Towson went to his zone. As soon as Hopkins inverted him, you could see both guys retreating, getting back to goal line extended. And Towson's very good in their zone, use it a lot.
We've got a flag down. It's going to be a penalty on the Blue Jays, so a free possession here for Towson. McLean from X. Hits the bar, but that will trigger the penalty, our first penalty of this game. Got a push on Cole Williams, so he goes to the box and an extra man opportunity here for Towson, the first of 2019. You mentioned Grant Maloof in the start, led this team with 7 extra man goals a year ago. He had 20 on the season, also best for the Tigers. And we have a broken stick around midfield. We saw that on the near side here as Towson looked to clear. Our first shattered stick of 2019 as well.
In cold weather games, you better have 2 or 3 because poles and heads will break in this type of conditions.
Nice save there by Darby, his second. He goes with a long clearing pass. It's lost, but it's going to kill a bunch of time on the extra man. And then the loose ball push will give it to Matt Hubler. Be able to run out the rest of this time.
Darby gets bailed out there with that loose ball push. That's a mistake there. You don't want to take that shot, give it right back to a man-up unit with plenty of time on the penalty. He's got to be careful, and I'm sure Coach Petramala is letting him know that.
And so we're back to even strength as just one shot on that extra man for Towson and saved by Ryan Darby. Jack Keogh sends it behind. This is Joey Epstein. #1 recruit in the country, #1 freshman in the nation, getting his first action for Hopkins. DeSimone dodges back behind to Keogh. Keogh bodied up nicely there by Andrew O'Dare. Now it's Kincannon. Long possession, down to 10 on the shot clock. First time it's really come into play today. Epstein fires high, not on frame, so 3 seconds left.
And this is where you'll see what our team's going to do. They're going to throw it to the middle of the field. They're going to bury it to the corner.
Foray Smith has that decision right now, and he's going to roll it right back to the corner. Something we've seen a lot in the MLL throughout the last several years, and something we're going to see more here in the college game.
I think it's the right play, and you know, you have all week to prepare. Set your rides up. This is a great opportunity now. You didn't get a good possession on offense, but you roll it to the corner, and now you can set up a clear and really make Towson work to get this ball over the midfield line.
As you see, 20 seconds to get over the midfield line. The interesting little wrinkle in that is that if you go over with more than 60 seconds still left, you can go back to your own side of the field as long as you have the ball across the midfield line by the time you get to 60 seconds. So the over and back call kind of goes both ways early on as you see that ball scooped up by the long stick midfielder Robert Kuhn. Get more into his number later, changed it to number 19 this season. As Matt Hubler sprints over the midfield stripe. Part of a pretty solid short stick defensive midfield unit for this Towson Tigers team, pairing up with Danny Jones.
And Coach Nad said in the past they've only used 3 guys on those defensive midfield lines. This year that they're going with a little bit more depth, especially with the new rule changes, trying to keep some of those guys on the field and not wear those guys out. So there'll be some fresh legs on the defensive midfield for Towson.
Williams to Marr, shot just wide. First look for Kyle Marr here in 2019, son of Albany coach Scott Marr. One of his last games in 2018 was one of his best. Scored 5 goals in that fourth quarter comeback against Georgetown to get Hopkins past the Hoyas in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. And another shot clock issue as they had reset it to 80. They bring it back down to 37. Possession continues for the Jays. This is Epstein. So highly touted here. Good pass in front. They have the own backup there.
Good vision from the freshman there. Dodging with his head up.
Shot wide by Epstein. As you see, number 89 in there getting his first run for Hopkins, Tate Catoni. Younger brother of Holden Catoni. Epstein up top to Keogh. He looked like he was falling down as he got that shot on frame, but it's well over the cage, backed up by the Jays.
Towson sitting in that zone again.
Keogh from way downtown, and he cashes in. 3-1, Hopkins on top.
If Hopkins is able to finish from the outside, it'll chase Towson out of that zone without the starting goalie today. You know, you give your guy a shot early on here with the zone, and he lets up, you know, the first outside bomb of the day, really, and Keogh's able to finish it. So that's something to watch. If he's not going to make those saves, and they're going to have to play strictly man-to-man, and they're not going to be able to let Hopkins take those outside shots. Again, when you lose your guy like Brennan, who you trust, who's used to seeing these shots and used to being in there making those stops for you, it definitely changes your philosophy on the defensive end.
Just the second goal of Jack Keogh's career, sophomore from Manhasset, New York, as Alex Woodall wins another faceoff for the Tigers. Gets pushed behind, that draws a flag, and another extra man opportunity coming for the Tigers. Good opportunity for Towson to answer here as we wind down the first quarter. Still an extra possession here. You see Timmy Monahan go to work. Monahan, pass across is deflected, kept alive by Maloof. And a goal from Towson. Brendan Sunday's got 2, and the Tigers are back within 1.
Tiger goal, number 24, Brendan Sunday.
Penalty gets waved off as Brendan Sunday cashes in here late in the quarter.
And right here, you take a look, Sunday dodging right from the middle of the field, gets to the middle of the field, gets to his strong hand, and I'm sure Coach Petramala, who is a defensive guy, is going to be all over his short stick to me. You got to keep him going in his left. You got to keep him down the alley. You can't let him get to the middle where you can see that full goal, that full 6x6. Got to put your goalie in a better position, make those shots, and those dodges go down the alley.
Woodall was able to win that one back. And we've got a loose ball push. He'll give it to Hopkins. Quickly the other way, and Epstein on the board for the first time in his Hopkins career.
And I have no idea how he got so open. I'm trying to think. He's playing attack. He should have had a defenseman right next to him. No matter what goes on in this loose ball here, in this possession, I don't know how this guy gets so wide open. Where was that defenseman even going? If anywhere, if you thought you won the possession, you're probably running to the opposite sideline to get into your clear. But Epstein's open. He's able to find it, find the back of the net. And the #1 overall recruit gets his first goal of his Hopkins career.
The first goal of his career may be the easiest one. As he was one-on-one there with Tyler Canto and the goalie. And just as the Tigers had made this thing a one-goal game, Hopkins answers quickly. Another face-off win by Woodall. He wins it forward this time. He takes it all the way himself. Bounce shot is wide. Back up there for the Tigers as they'll trigger things in. Tim Montgomery, the sophomore. Shot clock not a problem here as Towson will be able to hold for the final shot with just 30 seconds to go in the opening quarter. What time do you like to go here, Steve, in these situations?
Usually right around 12 to 15. This is a good time right now. You want to get into your offense and you want to get aggressive right now.
Timmy Monahan to McLean, now to Montgomery. They're down to 7.
Definitely now.
Montgomery falling down, draws the flag late in this possession, and that flag will carry over into the second quarter. And so when we come back here in the second quarter, we'll have an extra man opportunity for the Tigers. Start of the second quarter at Towson, and our first look at Joey Epstein in his college career. Steve, he was a pretty impressive high school player as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, #1 overall recruit, and we're getting a good look at him here today. I think the key for any young guy is when you join a team, you don't want to have to be the guy that carries the load. He's got a guy like Moore and some other key pieces, so he'll take the pressure off of him, and he'll have some early success here with Hopkins.
An Under Armour All-American there as a senior, and he left the Landon School as the career leader in goals, assists, and points, and that's no slouch of a program. Travis Eldridge, Steve Panarelli back with you. Start of the second quarter. Towson on the extra man here to kick things off. Second time of the day that the Tigers are on the man up. First time they could not cash in.
Hopkins locking the crease, playing with 4, making it a 5-on-4.
Monahan's pass broken up, but he gets possession right back. Skip pass across, tough to handle. A whistle, loose ball push, he'll keep it with the Tigers.
So again, they're locking the crease. They're playing it, making it a 5-on-4. So if you're Towson, you got to look for skip lanes. It's hard for 4 guys to rotate around, quick ball movement, and looking for skip lanes.
Here's Grant Maloof. Led the team in extra man goals a year ago. And shot and a score. We've got a dive and it's good. Towson responds to start the second quarter.
Tiger goal, number 7, Brody McLean.
Brody McLean getting his first goal here of 2019.
Nice job by McLean, 6'3", 210, uses his size right here, gets underneath his defender, and with that new rule, all you need is a little bit of room. You've just got to slightly get that defender on your back, as you see right there, and then he already had him beat, and he's able to use that long frame and finish. So, again, we talked about that yesterday, you and I, about how it changes how you play defense one-on-one, because that slide used to come, and it was easy to get that double team on an inside roll. But nowadays, with the new rule that you can go across and land in the crease with the dive, it gives the advantage to the attackman. And again, they only need a little bit of room to create that opportunity.
A quick face-off win for the Tigers, and they go right back to work. This is when the advantage of Alex Woodall can start to pay off a little bit for Towson. And with the dive, it was interesting. We were talking to Coach Dave Petramala of Hopkins about it, and he said, look, we actually put in a second crease inside of the normal crease during practice to give our players something tangible. The rule is you got to dive away from the goal mouth. They wanted to give their players something tangible to look at and say, hey, if I land here, it's not going to be good. Winds and fires. McLean's got 2 in a row. Tigers have tied it up. Just like that, the transfer from Stony Brook getting the Tigers all even.
And right here, he went lefty last time. Now he comes up the right-hand side, gets to 5-5, gets that defender really high. You know, last time the defender forces inside roll. This time he let him go upfield, and he uses that question mark dodge there. Again, he got really high, and that way when he went back to his left hand, he had plenty of room and plenty of goal to look at. So McLean right now on fire, 2 in a row, and gets the game tied up at 4.
Saw action in just 3 games last year as a sophomore, had only 1 goal. He's already got 2 to start off his junior season. And a face-off violation gives it right back to Towson. Golden opportunity to start the second quarter here for the Tigers. Looking for their first lead of the day. Andrew Beecham in there with the midfield unit of Greg I and Grant Maloof. That one rings the crossbar. I, right place, right time. Keeps the possession open here for the Tigers with a fresh 80.
I would keep going with McLean. I like his matchup.
Sunday's got 2 goals. That one was nicked and saved. And Darby's got another stop, an important one here for the Jays, stopping the momentum.
Something Hopkins going to have to adjust to. McLean, 3 straight possessions, 2 goals, another great look where he just rings it off the crossbar. So they're going to have to get some help to him. He's doing a nice job of using that big frame and getting his hands free. So Hopkins got to adjust defensively to what he's doing right now.
An issue in the clear there for the Jays. Luke Frommert picks it up, and a chance here for Towson to go right back on the offense. Nice little sequence here for Towson in the settled 6-on-6. And this is Brody McLean right back at it. You have to think if you're the Tigers, you want to keep going with that hot hand. Jake McLean, number 6, the midfielder, also in there. Don't let it confuse you. Jake and Brody not only share the same last name, but are also just 1 number off. We got another flag down as Timmy Monahan was tripped. You got a push coming and A chance for a free possession. Maloof cashes in. Towson with its first lead of 2019.
Just a lot of sloppy play from Hopkins defense. You see it with the penalties. You see it with the lack of communication right there off of the ball. I mean, how do you let Maloof get this wide open? You got nobody on him. Nobody's communicating. Nobody's looking. You got to have your head on a swivel. Guys, you can see these midfielders up here, 44-9, talking up top about who had who. So very uncharacteristic of a Coach Petramalo, Coach defense, to have some of these miscues. And again, even the penalties, just sloppy play right now from Hopkins defensively.
And so Hopkins needs a timeout. We've got 3 straight goals for the Tigers here in the first 3.5 minutes of this second quarter. Why don't we take a look back, Steve? The last time Towson and Hopkins met up here at Johnny Unitas Stadium, it was the start of a really special season for Towson. Ended up in the Final Four. Also the last time the Tigers beat this Hopkins team.
That was a great Towson team. I remember watching those guys, calling a few of their games that year. Just very well balanced. Typical Coach Nad's team, just disciplined, did everything right, tough defensively, and like you said, it was a great season for the Tigers that year.
It ended up in a 13-8 Towson win. It was a non-conference slate that included a couple of impressive wins on their way to earning a Final Four berth. When we take a look back at the all-time series, you mentioned it off the top, Steve. Last 5 meetings have been won by the home team. It's a Hopkins-dominated series overall, but lately this has been an interesting rivalry to watch.
Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Nad. He has done a great job with this program, and like you said, the last 5 meetings, home team getting the win. Obviously overall, Hopkins has dominated this, but as of late, this rivalry has started to heat up.
So once again, we'll see if Alex Woodall can continue his domination here at the Faceoff X. It's a new Faceoff guy in there for Hopkins and Matt Naruski. And talking to Coach Petro, he said that we're going to try a 3-headed monster out there, knowing what Woodall has and knowing that that's a question mark. So Naruski getting a shot at Woodall and Hopkins able to get a possession.
Well, it's something that it keeps Woodall guessing, because now you get a new guy, every time or every couple face-offs. Keeps him on his toes, and then eventually maybe you find a guy that just has a good matchup against them, because that's what face-off sometimes comes down to, is just the matchup. So keep throwing out guys until someone gets hot or starts to have a little bit of success, and then you can ride the hot hand late.
Gray Bowden was able to come up with a turnover. A shot and a score! Kobe Smith with a long pole goal. Celebrations all around. Tigers up 2.
And right here you see Towson. They take advantage here in the transition game. You've got 2 poles over, but what that does is, right, so let's say that second pole, Smith, if he would have stayed onside, then he doesn't take up a Hopkins player. He's not in position, right? A lot of teams, defensemen will stay back and wait for that midi to run by him to go over, but they push it. They get 6 guys over. Creates that opportunity even with that loose ball, and Smith does a nice job of going low to low there.
Kobe Smith, a guy who played mostly long stick midfielder last year, made just 1 start at close defense. They've moved him to the close defense position this season, but in his LSM experience, he's a guy that is comfortable coming over the midfield line.
I think I just saw Cole Williams slap him 5 after a goal. Things have changed, I can assure you. I would never
You weren't doing that back in your Syracuse days with Hopkins?
Yeah, if a guy scored on me, I don't think I was slapping his hand and congratulating him, especially when we're losing 6-4.
Kyle Marr looking to trigger here. He's been quiet coming off a big junior season. Not much doing for him. This is Alex Kincannon, shots wide, and Cole Williams there for the backup. Where do you go if you're Hopkins here to try to answer?
You've got a couple options. I think, Marr's probably your guy that you trust the most with the ball in his stick. DeSimone took advantage of that matchup. He got the short stick early on. If they keep the short stick on him, that could be a problem. But I think, 2-goal game very early. keep playing. I think for them, really what it's been is about possession time. They haven't had the ball enough offensively.
Nice save there by Canto. Saw it the whole way from DeSimone. And it's quickly over the midfield line to Kobe Smith. And another offensive set for Towson. It seems like they've really dominated possession to start this second quarter. Jake McLean tosses to Grant Maloof, and get a look at that first midfield line for Towson. Maloof with the short stick matchup, and he takes advantage. Second goal of the season for Grant Maloof.
Going to see another example here of a Towson midi winning his matchup and getting to the middle of the field. Not sure if Hopkins is trying to play hands and maybe letting these guys get there, but it looks early on here that he kind of was forcing them to his left. And give credit to Maloof. Does a nice job there getting to his left hand and letting it rip from the outside on the run. We talked about it early too. Look for Hopkins. If the goalie's not seeing the ball well, we know he's a young kid getting his first start. There was other options that were available to Coach Petramala. It was kind of a game-time decision on who was going to go, so you might see a short leash with the Hopkins goalie depending on how this second quarter plays out.
And remember, this is a Towson team that is without one of their other starting midfielders in Matt Severo. Not playing today with an injury, one of a couple of key Tigers out, including starting goalie Shane Brennan. Coach Nadalin admitting to us that they've really struggled to even scrimmage full field with 21 different guys out at different points throughout this spring preseason, or winter preseason. Played the Bucknell scrimmage earlier on without their entire starting midfield, as we've got our first clearing violation there. That Towson took too much time to get over midfield, and Danny Jones looks to quickly go for Hopkins.
You know, this is a Towson team that went 7-8 last year. Very young at the outset, but you know, I had an opportunity to call them right here in this network against UMass in the CAA championship, and they gave those guys everything that they could handle. It was a great game, and I was, you know, I think UMass got a bad draw. If they play anybody but Yale, I think they're making a run probably to the Final Four, and they gave Yale everything they can handle. So this Towson team came back, a lot of experienced guys and guys that were prepared after maybe a little bit of a rough season, and they're starting to show it here early on in this game against Hopkins.
Nice defensive play here for the Tigers. Kobe Smith looks to run. He's already got a goal. Shot and a score. Another one for the Tigers. Zach Goodrich, the short stick defensive midfielder, getting in on the scoring act. And apparently he wants to go to Margaritaville.
It's too cold to be talking about Margaritaville right now. Great job by Towson in transition. I talked about it before with the two poles coming over and kind of filling lanes. And they do a good job of it again here in transition. Creating that odd man situation, finding that trailer late. And Goodrich, we've talked about him a lot.
Yeah.
He's a dynamic player. See, a 4-on-4 or a 5-on-5 to him, that's a green light to go. Because now you know there's no slide coming. You know, even though they're even, it's kind of like an odd man situation because, again, there's no slide, there's no help. You just go right to the goal, and right there he took advantage of an offensive midi and was able to get his hands free.
And we had a chance in this preseason to talk to Coach Sean Nadalin about what Zach Goodrich means to this program. Listen here.
Player on the field as well. So those two things have been consistent. What I've seen from him is his leadership ability to continue to evolve and develop. And it's been really neat to see that over the course of 4 years. We've been talking about him forever. I'd love to keep talking about him forever. There's no doubt about that. He's an amazing kid, just a great young man to be around.
Nadalin talking so much about how it's going to be so hard to see Zach Goodrich leave this program. He emerged on the scene as a freshman, and he has only made more waves throughout his career.
People don't understand when you could basically put like a fifth pole out on the field and you could trust a short stick D-Mitty to take care of his matchup and you don't have to worry about him, it changes your whole game plan. It changes your whole mindset. And then you add, to someone like him that can now come off the wing, is great in transition, can score goals. He's good off of the ground. I mean, so when you put that whole package together, yeah, Coach's dad is right. When he loses this guy, those guys, you don't really replace those guys.
No.
It's really tough to replace guys like that.
And Zach Goodrich also this year wearing a special CB30 patch. It honors Carl Biernick, an important part of this Towson program's rise in the 1990s, part of those really good Towson teams. And a special honor for Zach Goodrich to wear that patch here early on. Here comes Woodall, another face-off win. It hasn't really mattered who Hopkins is throwing out there. Woodall has been terrific at the X. And another Towson possession. They have dominated here in the second quarter. This is Jake McLean. Really fired that one in to Beecham, but he's able to handle it.
I thought with the shot clock it would kind of decrease the value a little bit of face-off guys, because if you could get the ball back, but you got to play good defense to earn it back, and Hopkins just hasn't done that yet. And so right now they haven't had that equalizer, and the face-off has been kind of like what we've seen over the last few years, where it's score, winner takes out, and so far he's really been the key to this game and just keeping this Hopkins defense on the field.
Well, honestly, the face-off is fine. You can lose face-offs if you get stops. Hopkins hasn't been able to get stops here in this second quarter.
Correct. The shot clock was the equalizer against some of these great face-off guys that were dominating games, but if you don't get stops, then it just doesn't matter.
Whistle gives this ball back to Hopkins after there was a push around midfield that kept things alive for Towson. So a much-needed possession for the Blue Jays. And it's the senior Kyle Marr to start things off with it. Marr entering this game on a 14-game goal streak. It's top 10 in the country among active streaks entering this 2019 season. Chance for some of these midfielders to get some touches. Got Kincannon in there. Now Connor DeSimone coming off a 16-goal freshman season. Now 40 Smith from X. Feed in front. Williams couldn't handle it, and it's stolen away there by Bowden. He's been all over the map on defense for the Tigers.
I think we were concerned coming into the game, Towson offensively. A lot of guys that were kind of banged up early part of the year, without a few guys, and we didn't really know what they were going to look like. But so far, it's been really the Hopkins offense. A little sloppy here. Haven't really found the matchup that they like, that no one's really winning one-on-ones right now. And give credit to Towson's defense, doing a nice job. But Hopkins has got to settle in. A little sloppy right now. Got to get back into some kind of a rhythm offensively.
That's a surprise when you return what Hopkins returned on offense. That was certainly not a question mark, especially the attack unit for Coach Dave Petramala entering this season, as that one goes out of bounds off of Towson. I had to feel good about Kyle Marr and Cole Williams coming back, but both have been relatively quiet. Just one assist between the two so far in this first half.
I'd like to see them try some different stuff. Maybe go to an invert. They usually do a very good job in the two-man game with their picks off the wings, and maybe start to get into some of those kind of set plays a little bit to get some life here into this offense.
Epstein's pass, a little forced in front, but able to be tracked down by Marr along the sideline. Marr is hounded there. Now around to Epstein. Behind DeSimone. Still 30 seconds on the possession clock for Hopkins. the freshman Epstein working against the All-American and Zach Goodrich. His pass intercepted by Canto, and another empty possession for the Jays. And Canto really hasn't had to do a whole lot in goal for Towson, honestly.
No, he gave up maybe that one bad goal early on. That was a kind of a deep shot, but otherwise he settled in. Guys in front of him are doing a nice job, giving him good shots to look at. And like you said, hasn't been too active yet. Give a lot of credit to this Towson defense.
Some trouble along midfield, but it's finally scooped up by Towson. Kept alive. We got a yard sale, but it's Brendan Sunday with it, and he gets it to go. A 5-goal lead for the Tigers. They have everything clicking.
If things continue this way, it's going to be a bad opening weekend for blue blood lacrosse programs. A couple of upsets and a couple tough losses for some of these guys. And right there, Towson, again, in transition, just really beating Hopkins to the punch, beating them to loose balls. Would have been a penalty right there with that slash on the head, and give Sunday a lot of credit. Took the shaft to the head, went right down the pipe, and able to finish left-handed.
And you don't think of this Towson team as a transition team. It's a team that's traditionally slow, settle it down, we're going to play great defense, make you beat us. But in talking with Coach Sean Nattle, and I think it was interesting, he was talking about, we don't need to push transition, but we want to push, quote-unquote, opportunity. And that's the word he used, and that's a perfect example. Right place, right time. You have some numbers. This Tigers team knows that, hey, it's okay to go in those types of situations.
So there was a penalty.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been waved off with the goal, but
you add insult to injury. The slash goes up against Hopkins. It's Owen Colwell, the junior from Westfield, New Jersey. And so an extra man faceoff won by Woodall. And on top of a 5-goal lead, Towson a chance to add to it. They've really been good on the extra man. We saw the one empty one, but they've taken advantage on a couple of delayed penalty calls. This has been a clicking Towson offensive unit so far in this first half, especially in the second quarter.
And if this lead continues as it gets later and later in the game, that's where Woodall becomes so important, because he just stops any type of a run. And so Hopkins has got to figure out a way, maybe not to win them all, but at least make it a 50-50 ground ball.
Darby able to come up with a big save. But a loose ball, it's a turnover. 1-on-0. Sunday can't get it to go, and that will be a flag. The contact with the goalie on Sunday, and this is obviously an interesting situation. Do we get just the pushing call, or do we get contact with the goalie and an unsportsmanlike on Brendan Sunday here?
Yeah, I think that'll be a push. Yep.
Something that's been interesting to watch with how this game's officiated early part of the season. The new rule, and it is a push. Danny Jones, the short stick defensive midfielder, so 2 men in the box for the time being for Hopkins. The extra man continues here for Towson. Can't believe Sunday didn't cash in there.
Yeah.
He's looking for goal number 4 on the day. This one goes wide, backed up there by Towson.
That would have been the easier one for him. I think even in my state, may have buried
you put that one home?
Maybe.
One of the penalties has been cleared away, and Rapine with a big ground ball. Transition chance for Hopkins. Just enough there by Canto, and he makes the stop.
Lazy offense from Towson created that transition. Fortunate to get away with that one. Get the ball back. Got to move your feet. Can't be standing still throwing passes. That's how it got deflected. But Hopkins, unfortunately, not able to come away with one there. That would have been huge. 2 men down and scoring a goal. Get some momentum back, but Towson able to make the stop.
As that shot sails high, Danny Jones trying to chase down the loose ball. Instead, it's backed up by the Tigers. And we are back to even strength. McLean gets his hands free. Towson is on fire.
McLean with his third goal here in the second quarter.
Different McLean. We tricked you.
Come on.
This is Jake McLean.
All right, it's early in the season. I'm allowed to get away with that.
They're only one number off.
One of the McLeans. Nice job here. Attacking the short stick. Again, another rollback to the middle of the field. These short stick defenders have got to keep these guys down the alley. And, you know, I keep saying it, but it's just, it is what it is. And you can't let these guys get back to the middle of the field. You know you've got a young goalie. You've got to show him shots from low angle and low percentage spots on the field. And when they get back to the middle of the field, that's just an easy shot for anybody in Division I.
Face-off win by Woodall once more. And with a minute left, Towson can hold for the final shot of this first half, up by 6 against the number 7 Blue Jays. 11 of 15 at the face-off X for Towson and Alex Woodall today.
So he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, you could say that. What a second quarter here from the Tigers. 8-0. They're outscoring the Blue Jays in the second 15 minutes. Grant Maloof content to wait for the final 20 seconds of this thing. Maloof battling against Foley. Skip pass across. Pass was too high with 4 seconds left. The over and back call. Kuhn's got to go quickly and nothing doing for Hopkins. A dominant second quarter from Towson. They outscore the 7th-ranked team in the country 8-0 in the second frame, and Towson has a 6-goal lead here at the half. We step aside, send you back to the LSN Broadcast Center to catch up around the country. And Travis Eldridge ready for the second half, as what a second quarter performance Towson put on. 8-0 run to take a 10-4 lead over the 7th-ranked Johns Hopkins Blue Jays entering the third quarter. Steve, as we take a look back at what we saw in this first half, what stood out to you the most about how impressive Towson was in that 8-0 run?
Well, I think it starts with Woodall. He's obviously dominated possession, so you have the ball more, you're going to score more. It's pretty simple. But transition, Towson dominated them in transition. They beat them to loose balls. They got up the field faster, running the field and filling those lanes and creating those opportunities. So they've just really dominated them. It was one of those quarters where if you're Towson, you don't even want halftime to come. And if it does, you want a quick halftime. You want to get back on the field and get going again, because they totally had all the momentum. And for Hopkins, they needed halftime to come right away because they were just getting blitzed.
I mean, it came from everywhere for this Towson team. Brody McLean with a couple of goals, Jake McLean with 1, Brendan Sunday a hat trick, Grant Maloof 2 more. Really well diverse scoring effort for this Towson team, as they've got a lead here at the break over the 7th-ranked team in the country. When you look at Coach Petro and this Hopkins team, what is his message to his squad in the locker room? Because I'm sure it was spirited.
Spirit is a good way to put that, from what I would expect from Coach Petro in that locker room. I think for them, strategically, they've got to just figure out something at the face-off X. You're obviously not going to win a majority of them, but how do you muck it up, and how do you turn it into some kind of a 50-50 ground ball where your wings have a shot at getting a ground ball? I think you got to stay out of the penalty box. Very sloppy with their penalties. That just shows they're lazy with their feet, lazy with their sticks. That's about effort. So, and then, you know, offensively, they got to get into some kind of a rhythm right now. Haven't had the ball enough, and when they have had it, been sloppy at times. So, again, I would go to some set things, picks, inverts, try to get yourself going offensively.
Kyle Prouty goes back to the X for Hopkins, but that doesn't work. He went just 1 for 5 in the first half, now 1 for 6, as Alex Woodall keeps it himself. He ends up in the crease, and that's going to be a turnover. Good chance for Hopkins to clear this thing.
And that's something you could do too. You know, if Woodall's going to win it, you got to trust your pull in a matchup with him, and maybe it's going to a lock-off and increasing that pressure, extending. And even though you're going to lose the face-off, maybe creating some turnovers, which would almost be like a win off of a face-off, and really makes Woodall work a little bit. He's going to have to run around a little bit more. So I would maybe put the heat on him, try to get a pull to him, and try to create some turnovers as he's trying to get into that offensive zone.
Here comes 40 Smith running out of the midfield. Save there by Canto. Good start to the second half for the junior, getting his first ever start in cage for the Tigers. Here comes Joey Epstein. He scored his first career goal in that first half. Came in the first quarter. All 4 goals for the Blue Jays in that first quarter, as that shot well off for 40 Smith.
And we talked about Hopkins, you know, loaded on the attack. A lot of guys that they can use. Maybe use a few of those guys out of the box. Get a short stick matchup. Go to that invert set. Use your attackman against a short stick. Maybe not Goodrich, but some of the other Towson guys. You know, that could be something they could do offensively as well.
Cole Williams kept off the score sheet in the first half, and he stripped away. Transition chance for the Tigers.
And they've got numbers.
Kobe Smith feeds. Shot just sails wide.
And again, another example of how just Hopkins is getting beat into the hole. Offensive mid's not doing a good enough job of getting in the hole and getting even and then trying to sub off the field. Towson clearly 2 guys versus 1 coming from defense to offense. You've got to get in the hole. You've got to stop the ball, and then you can kind of worry about getting off the field if you're an offensive midi.
And this is what we saw essentially for this entire second quarter. Settled opportunities for the Tigers, dominating possession. This Blue Jays defense has been on the field for a long time in that first half. Here comes Grant Maloof, scored a couple in the first 30 minutes. Shimmy shake, bounce shot, sails wide, but back up there from Sunday. Sunday wrapping near side. Gets his hands free, and that's another one. Brendan Sunday putting on a show. He's got 4, and the Tigers are up by 7.
Really not much from the Towson offense, just really winning their one-on-one matchups, and a lot of unassisted goals from Towson today. Their guy with the ball just winning his matchup, getting his hands free. And so if you're Hopkins, you know, Coach Nadlin talked about earlier in this week that, you know, Hopkins in the past has been very slow to go to them, holding their slides, don't want to slide and rotate, but they're going to have to maybe change it up and start to show some respect to these Towson Dodgers, because one-on-one, Hopkins has not been able to handle them.
And that is a new career high for Brendan Sunday with 4 goals. He had a trio of hat tricks last season. He's now got 4 goals here today, a big part of this Towson lead. As the Blue Jays find a way, they're in a violation in order to get a possession and stop that run.
Take it any way you can get it.
Exactly. This is Kyle Marr. Like we said, just 1 assist between Cole Williams and Kyle Marr so far in this game. 2 of the star attackmen on this Blue Jays squad. This is Keogh, the midfielder, and that thing just right into the stick of Canto, and a chance for a free outlet. Smith couldn't handle it, though. And a good ground ball here from Hopkins. A chance to push, and they finally get back on the board. It's Catoni with the goal. Hopkins' first goal since the first quarter, and Tate Catoni puts it home.
And really, that's a missed opportunity from Towson. They had a clean 4-on-3 break if they were able to hook that pass up. They're not. Goes the opposite way, and a little reverse transition for the Hopkins offense, and Catoni's able to bury it. So that's almost like a 2-goal swing right there for Towson, because they really had a good look at a nice clean 4-on-3 fast break, but Hopkins comes away with the goal. Makes it 11-5. So you see right here off that transition, off the ground ball, and then Catoni just steps down, lefty rip, goes low to low. And Hopkins needed that. They need a little life. They need some momentum.
First career goal for the freshman midfielder, as he finally gets Hopkins back on the board. But another face-off win from Alex Woodall. And this is what we were talking about during the break, is it's so difficult to string runs together, even with the shot clock, because now Towson gets a possession, a chance to take some time, and now you put the pressure on your defense to get a stop.
Yeah, he just destroys runs through the way he's been winning face-offs today. So every time Hopkins gets a goal, they don't get to keep that momentum. They're back playing defense again.
Here comes Sunday. He's looking for 5. Navigating, and this Towson offense just has looked really comfortable after the first quarter, where it took some time to get adjusted. This is Andrew Beecham looking for the jump shot. Good recovery there from Hubler. Greg I, and that save by Darby stops the Tigers. You get the feeling here in this third quarter, important for Hopkins to find a way to string a couple of goals together and make things interesting.
Really just want to be within, 3 or 4 at the end of this. You're not going to get it all back in this quarter. Again, you go into that fourth quarter. If you're within 3 or 4 goals, again, with the shot clock, it gives you possession. If you can play some defense and get some stops, you can get back into this thing. It's one at a time. Got plenty of time here left in this lacrosse game. So continue to do what you do, get some stops, and again, just try to get it close going into that fourth and give yourself an opportunity late.
Forey Smith, once again, an attackman running out of the midfield for this Blue Jays squad. The midfield was one of the big question marks for Hopkins coming into this season. They have plenty of attackmen, finding some ways to get all of them involved and on the field at the same time. Here's one of those stars, Cole Williams. Skip pass in front, and just enough of it from Canto. Maybe a little help from the post as well, and it stays out.
And Canto's been very good today. He's a big kid, takes up a lot of the net. He's been good. He's done a nice job in the clearing game, made the stops that he's supposed to. Very nice performance from him so far today.
Listed at 6'6", 245, Tyler Canto. Getting close to the size of his favorite athlete, Gronk.
Gronk.
Yeah. I don't know if he Gronk spikes after games, but I guess we're going to find out if Towson holds on here. This is Jake McLean. He's got a goal today. Maloof. Monahan. Monahan's got a step. Backside feed. And it's good. Luke Frommert on the board.
Great job by the Towson offense. Just a great cross crease look to Frommert. Who was that, Maloof on the assist?
I believe it's Sunday here.
Okay.
Excuse me, Monahan.
Monahan on the assist. Great job. The help was coming. Take a look here. Yeah, the help came across crease. That backside defenseman, number 23 of Hopkins, Danny Jones, he's got to get down that backside. Got to be a step or two ahead there. Nice look, cross crease in the finish, and Towson makes it 12-5.
And another face-off win from Alex Woodall. Towson there showing you the ability to distribute, because most of the damage has been done off of those shots, dodging down the alley, showing you the eyes up to be able to find the guy there on the backside.
Well, Coach Nadalin said this week he was concerned about getting up and down. They haven't had a lot of time in the clearing and riding game, But I'm starting to think that all the time they've spent 6-on-6 is really starting to pay off because they've been absolutely dominant on both ends of the field. So maybe it's worked in Coach Nads' favor here today.
Maloof, a shot just barely kept out there by Darby. Yeah, Coach Nadelin's going to start keeping 20 guys out of practice every spring if he can start seasons like this. Big possession here for Hopkins. We see if they can answer the Towson goal. It's Tate Katoni, the freshman. Of course, you certainly recognize that name. Younger brother of Holden Katoni. It's a standout for this Hopkins team. Joey Epstein just pushed over with the ball. And a nice play from Gray Bowden.
And again, look at this transition. Hopkins nowhere to be found. Good save right there from Darby, but again, just getting totally destroyed in between the lines. Those offensive middies are just getting outworked and out-hustled. Towson has had so many opportunities in transition where they've just beaten the Hopkins guys in the hole.
That shot from, and that was just an errant pass from the freshman Katoni. That shot from Kobe Smith. He already has a goal today in transition, so he was looking for his second. And the physicality on defense. This is a Coach Sean Nadelin team. You can feel it when you see what their style of defense back there at that end.
Yeah, and you just saw it in that last play with the freshman Epstein kind of getting bowled over. Everybody, no matter who you are, you have that welcome to Division I lacrosse moment as a freshman. We've all been there. And right there, you know, again, you talk about it, Coach Nads' defense wanting to play physical, and they got physical on the freshman right there.
Dodge down the alley, sent high from Casey Wasserman. There's Casey Wasserman, the younger brother of Bryce, current member of the Ohio Machine. Sophomore from Texas on this Tiger squad. Andrew Beecham. So they got a second line midfield unit out there for Towson. Chance to get some fresh legs. Frommert taking his time. We're now under 20 seconds on the shot clock. Beecham in front. Another goal for Brody McLean. He's got 3, and the Tigers have their largest lead of the game.
Right here, taking a look. Again, Hopkins' defense is just totally out of it. You could just tell by the body language, the communication, 2 guys going to the ball. Nobody even knows who the slide guy is right now. There's no second slide. There's no help. They're slow getting down the backside. This defense is totally, at this point, just checked out because you could just see it. Just based, again, the way the slides are coming and the lack of communication. There's just there's no energy on that side of the field right now. And then here comes Woodall again, back at you.
Another face-off win for Alex Woodall. He's right around 75% on the afternoon. A terrific way to start your senior season for Alex Woodall. 15 of 20.
And we talked about this yesterday where I thought in some of these games where leads might get extended, where in the past where teams can kind of take the foot off the gas and not really run it up on guys, you're forced to now. Because of the way the shot clock is, you've got to continue to play offense. It does give the other team more possession, so you can't take your foot off the gas. You got to keep playing, and you're going to see scores in games like this where the scores might get completely lopsided, but it's not the team's fault. The game's not over yet.
You got to keep scoring.
You got to keep playing. You got to keep scoring because, again, with the shot clock and the way it's set up to get teams more possessions and give them the opportunity to get back in the game, you've got to keep putting it on them because it's not over.
We saw Penn State earlier today hang 27 on Robert Morris. That is a potent offense that Hopkins is going to have to deal with later on this season in the Big Ten. Here comes D. Simone. Sends it behind to Epstein. Kyle Marr, so quiet as he's matched up there with Jimmy Wilkerson.
I just haven't seen any playmakers from Hopkins. You know, anybody that can just totally dominate a matchup or just create their own shot, get their hands free. Right there.
Simone right into Canto's stick.
Yep, forced him down the alley, low angle shot, left-handed. Canto does a good job of just staying on the pipe. Nice, easy save for him. So, you know, Hopkins offensive's got to find somebody that could be a playmaker for him.
Kobe Smith wants another. He's got 2 on the game, and Towson has it clicking.
Well, you know I appreciate a defenseman that can score. He's got 2 today. Unbelievable. That's the way you want to start your season. If you're a defenseman, you get 2 goals in your first game.
And we are looking at our potential for a 3rd top 10 team to go down this week in our first full week of college lacrosse as Towson has a 9-goal lead here in the 3rd quarter. They've scored 12 of the last 13 goals, including this one from Kobe Smith. He had 2 goals all of last season. He's got 2 today.
And again, Hopkins defensively, just there's no communication. Nobody was even really thinking of going to him until he got to right about 10 yards. He's winding up. You got to realize that this guy can score. I'm sure it was in the scouting report that he's an offensive-minded defenseman. Nobody really slides to him, kind of leaving their goalie on an island.
Taking a look at some of the upsets we've seen, we saw, of course, Duke on Wednesday go down 13-9 against High Point, and then just last night, Syracuse, number 10 in the country, not able to get past Colgate. What a performance from Colgate in the first career game as Colgate head coach for Matt Carwick come over from Notre Dame.
Always a tough place to play for visiting teams in the Dome. People always talk about the lighting and the silver bleachers that are in there. It's tough to see, you know, but give a lot of credit to Colgate. Went in there, really took it to Syracuse. Really, I think they led throughout the entire game.
Syracuse never led.
So they jumped on them early, and they kept it on them. So give that Colgate team a lot of credit for going up there and taking care of you know, what should be a pretty good Syracuse team this year.
Yeah, and Coach Carwick certainly had to realize that he wasn't going to feel intimidated bringing that Colgate team into a place where when he was an assistant at Notre Dame, certainly felt comfortable going to, but a big surprise, not only that Colgate won, but the way in which they did it, a really impressive performance from the Raiders. When you look back at this game, and we're talking about this Hopkins defense, this was one of the strengths of this team moving forward. Coach Petramala talking about how they knew what they had at the attack and the defense. The midfield was the question mark. With guys like Rapine and Colwell and Foley returning, this is surprising to me.
It is, and I'll tell you what, though. He was concerned about that midfield, and that midfield has been one of the main reasons why they have given up so many goals. You look at transition.
And another goal, Alex Woodall. Face-off win. He's got his first of the season.
Just wrapping up that point, these middies have gotten beat into the hole, so they've given up a lot of goals in transition, and their short-stick defenders, who are midfielders, have not done a good job with their one-on-one matchups. And Woodall, who's having an unbelievable day here today, just capitalizing it with a goal. And again, not much communication from that base defense. No real help here. Woodall goes right through the heart of the defense, right down the pipe. Nobody slides to him, and just an easy goal for Woodall.
Preseason All-American Alex Woodall now 76% on the day. He's 16 of 21. He's got a goal. The transfer from High Point coming into this game, really, we said it in the first half, Coach Natalin's so appreciative of the effort he put in the offseason to come in the best shape that he has been in his college career. And it's certainly showing off today because he's taken a lot of face-offs and he's been very successful. You even see Hopkins throwing out a long pole and Owen McManus out there just trying to figure something out, some way to beat this guy.
It's not going to happen today. Not with the rhythm that he's in. Right, I think he has an assist today, too.
I believe so.
I think he does. I think he hit the point attackman for a goal as well. So he's
goal and assist.
So he's created basically 2 goals, and I think he's going over 76% right now.
Yeah.
So what an unbelievable day. Coach Petro knew that was an area of concern, but I don't think he anticipated that it would get this bad.
Up by 10 Towson goes back to work offensively. Falling down, that shot gets on Cage, but Darby able to keep it out. Of all the surprises we've seen in the first week, I believe this one, the disparity might be the biggest.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's surprised that Towson could win the game. You know, I think obviously you give Towson a lot of credit. They're a good team, well coached, but in the fashion that they did it, that's what's obviously most surprising.
Their last win over a top 10 team came in that 2017 season. Also the last time they beat this Blue Jays squad, that time over a number 9 Hofstra program. It was the year Hofstra rose to all the way up to, I believe, number 2 in the country.
Yep.
Suffered some heartbreak in the CAA tournament as Towson was able to move on and then ultimately play in the Final Four that season. Cole Williams still looking for his first goal of 2019. Towson defense has just been relentless. And that pass deflected out. Alex Kincannon keeps it alive. Short stick matchup for Joey Epstein, but it's against the All-American Zach Goodrich. Epstein shot wide.
And we talked about Goodrich of being that kind of that fifth pole. You know, the number 1 recruit in the country. Epstein, very talented offensive player. In most scenarios, when he's matched up on a short stick, you love that matchup. When you put a guy like Goodrich on him, you feel pretty confident if you're Towson.
A turnover after a great hustle play by the Tigers to run out that shot, and Ray Pine will look to bring it back. As at this point, Hopkins just needs to get some semblance of offense going here. Put themselves back in the mix entering this fourth quarter. Under a minute to go in the third. A 13-1 run by the Tigers to take this 10-goal lead as we look toward the final 15 minutes at Johnny Unitas Stadium. Evan Zinn looks to create his own shot, now dishes over to Catoni. Back to Williams. His shot is saved by Canto. 8th save of the afternoon for Tyler Canto. And it's just really been a lack of shots for Hopkins on top of the lack of possessions.
Lack of quality shots as well. You know, a lot of one-on-one play, alley dodges, not great looks.
7 seconds left. Cole Williams. He can go in a hurry. Canto keeps it out.
And that's when you know it's just not your day, when you can't finish a play like that.
And that'll bring us to the end of quarter number 3. What a performance from the Tigers to kick off 2019. Towson's got a 10-goal lead entering the fourth. Let's go back to the LSN Broadcast Center. Get you ready for the final frame at Johnny Unitas Stadium. Just a startling result so far in this one as Towson has dominated really from the second quarter on. Currently on a 13-1 run in the second and third quarters. Hopkins scoring just once after putting up 4 in the first. And another face-off win for the Tigers and Alex Woodall. And this is Zach Goodrich. Short stick D-Mitty doing a little bit of everything. Staying on offense for a second to get the possession. And Steve, when you look at how this Towson team has played today and when their shots are falling, and it reminds me of that 2017 team when Drenner and company, when they were on, that team could beat anybody, and that's why they made a run to the Final Four.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, going by today's performance, you would think they could beat anybody. But, you know, it starts at the face-off X with Woodall. And the scary part is they're not even, they're not clicking on all cylinders because they had so many injuries in the preseason. You know, they're without their goalie right now. You know, one of their top midfielders. So, I mean, this team's only going to get better. They're only going to get more experience, get more comfortable playing with each other. I think the most impressive part of them today has been really their transition offense. You know, their poles and their short stick D middies have been great in transition. So if they're scoring goals in transition, winning faceoffs, and playing the way they're playing offensively, this unselfish lacrosse, and playing this 6-on-6 defense, yeah, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Brendan Sunday already with 4 goals on the day, looking for 5. Instead dishes out on top, Maloof off, and the shot clock violation. Towson content just to roll it behind the cage. Hopkins looking to get something offensively. You mentioned with Towson, not only are they doing this, they're doing it without Shane Brennan, who was their starting goalie for most of last year. And they're doing it without Matt Severo, one of their starting midfielders. Both of them expected to be out at least a month, according to Coach Sean Nadelin when we talked to him earlier this week. But when you look at the performance from Tyler Canto and Cage, you have to think Nadelin very happy with the junior that they have in there at the moment.
He's done a nice job today, you know, and it's good to get him some experience because you never know what can go on throughout the course of a season. Brendan could get hurt again. Maybe that injury lags a little bit more, and it's nice to know that you got a guy that you can rely on and bring off the bench and play big for you.
Forey Smith tracks down that ground ball in the corner. He's got a goal today. Relatively quiet for the rest of the Hopkins attack unit. Cole Williams still looking for his first goal of 2019, and he finally gets one to go. Scored 35 goals a season ago, and he's got one. 3 points on the afternoon for Cole Williams.
Right here, Cole Williams gets that short stick matchup. That's a favorable matchup for Hopkins. No slide from Towson, really. Came across the crease, but he was already too high for that slide to really do anything coming across. Too late, and Williams able to get top side and finish it left-handed.
Finally, for Cole Williams, he has to feel like it's a big weight off his shoulders to finally put one in the back of the net. Now the question for Hopkins, can you string together at least a couple with a couple of face-off wins? Prouty back in there at the X for Hopkins. And the Blue Jays come up with it. And here's Kyle Marr. Still no points for the senior from Clifton Park, New York. Led this team with 58 points last season. It just, the matchup has not been there for Kyle Marr today. Coming out of the box, it rings the bar, and we have a flag down. Hopkins going to get a chance to go in the extra man.
First time today for them?
I believe so. This big hit comes in high from Kobe Smith, and that'll draw the flag. 1 minute penalty. Goes on the illegal body check.
Towson penalty, illegal body check on number 26, Kobe Smith. Hopkins on the man advantage.
So we see if Hopkins can put something together, as the Blue Jays offense has been a little out of sorts, especially in the settled 6-on-6, Steve.
Starting their traditional 3-3. Something Hopkins has always been known for. Usually have great inside finishers. Rotating back into it.
Pass up front to Marr, and that shot way off. Lost a hold of that one. We have another whistle. The ref's talking to somebody along the sideline. There dealing with a penalty time issue. Wasn't up on the scoreboard, so they're going to get things situated here for the extra man, the 1 minute man-up opportunity for Hopkins. You've got things corrected as you've got it up there. It's DeSimone to Marr. In there with Epstein as well. Down on the doorstep, Catoni denied. Canto again with a stop.
That's his best save of the day by far. Skip pass to a wide open guy on the crease. He's got to go from one side of the net to the other and react right away. Shows how quick his hands are. And again, coming across crease, making that save. That's by far his best save of the day.
The Billerica, Massachusetts native with a big stop in his first career start. He's got 9 saves, just 6 goals against. Stepping in for the injured Shane Brennan here today, and Towson has not missed a beat. And Tigers, even with the shot clock, content to really take their time on possessions now as Andrew Beecham.
You want to let these you want to let the shot clock go down, 12 to 15 seconds before you really start initiating your offense. They can stall and start to run the clock because they feel so confident in their face-off. If that thing was going the other way, you might see them be a little bit more aggressive still. But right now, the way they're winning face-offs, they feel confident that they can milk the clock. And
Sunday spins out of trouble. He's got a 5 spot today.
Is it too corny to say Sunday's been big on Saturday?
It works today.
It works today.
Sunday seems to be good on every day when he plays like this.
Right there, the double team runs out of it, able to keep possession in his stick. Right here, you see that double team, spins out of it, and then just finishes it low on the run. And Sunday with 5 today on Saturday.
He was matched up there with an offensive midfielder in Connor DeSimone, who was caught on. And that is certainly a matchup that Brendan Sunday will like to take just about any day. Back to a 10-goal advantage for the Tigers. See if Hopkins can find a way to win a faceoff. Good scrum. Big collisions between these two rivals, and it's picked up by the Tigers. Wilkerson grabs it. Now it's Zach Goodrich. And another offensive set for Towson.
Good pass.
Oh, Sunday denied. Our shot clock resets as Hopkins tries to control it. They finally do as Rapine brings it over midfield.
At some point, too, if you're coaching Adam, I think you kind of pull back Woodall. I think he's done enough here today. He's someone that you're going to need for the entire season. Sometimes those face-off guys could take a beating. Especially when you take that many draws. So eventually, as this thing gets to 5 minutes left in the game, if this lead is where it's at, I think it'd be a good idea to pull him.
Cole Williams wrung one off somebody's helmet. It stays with the Blue Jays' possession. For Towson, what's been the secret defensively in shutting down Hopkins today?
Dominating one-on-one matchups. Just totally dominating one-on-one matchups, short sticks and poles. Haven't had to slid much. Goalie's been good, made saves when he needed to, but really just dominating one-on-one matchups, staying home, not having to slide and rotate. Take a look at this penalty. He's going to get him with the cross check up high.
Canto able to keep another one out here on the doorstep. A nice kick save.
You've got that cross-check hold. You don't want to go up on the shoulder of that offensive player because that's when you slip up and you come high. You really want to aim for his hip because that's where you can control him too. As a defender, you push on his shoulder, he's just going to drop his level and run through your stick. So he's just got to be lower with his stick position there with the cross-check hold.
0 for 2 on the extra man. Hopkins today, as this one's just batted forward by Towson. Kills a little bit of time off on the Andrew O'Dare penalty. By the way, this Towson 16 goals is tied for the most goals the Tigers have ever scored against Johns Hopkins. As Kyle Marr finally gets one to go. It looked like it had a little English on it, off speed, as Kyle Marr continues his goal streak, 15th straight game with a goal.
Yeah, Canto didn't get a good look at that. Like you said, there was a little English on that shot. You could see he's frustrated with letting this one go in because it didn't have much on it, but it took a funny hop off of that turf. And a nice job by Marr, but again, got a little lucky there with that shot. It was an interesting bounce off of that turf, and that's one Canto wishes he probably could have had back.
And you can sense by Kyle Marr with the head turn and the head nod afterward. It's been a frustrating afternoon for him and really the entire Hopkins attack. And Alex Woodall is still in there. Wins another one to Brendan Sunday. Give him a six-pack. Unbelievable.
He's got 6 goals. I think Woodall's got 3 points now as a face-off guy. This has become a total stat day for this Towson team. Right there off of the break, draws the point defenseman. The base guy is slow to get up to the point attackman. And then Sunday, time and room, and just finds the upper corner and just buries it.
Now the most goals Towson has ever scored against Johns Hopkins in the history of this rivalry, 17 by the Tigers today, and there's still 7.5 minutes left. By the way, the 16 goals that was previously the high came in an NCAA tournament loss against the Blue Jays. The Jays hung 22 that day, that one coming back in 1994. Reminder, we'll get a chance to see Towson once again here on LSN in a couple of weeks. A midweek game against Loyola, February 27th. The Greyhounds, of course, top 5 in the country, entering this opening weekend, taking on Virginia today. And that one, especially with this result today, looks like an even larger game looming for both these teams on the schedule as Hopkins puts one more home. It's Forey Smith with his second goal.
Forey Smith with the Hopkins goal, assisted by Williams. Your score now, your Tigers 17, Johns Hopkins 8, 6:44 left in the quarter.
Hopkins band is still playing. Haven't had too much use of them here today, but
they made the short trip.
They made the short trip, and they're still playing hard. Can't say the same for maybe the Hopkins defense at this point, but
it has been a frustrating day all around for the Blue Jays. Not the performance we expected from the 7th-ranked team in the country coming into this thing, but you look around college lacrosse in this opening weekend, it has been difficult to win games. Saw number 2 Duke go down on Wednesday. Syracuse, the 10th-ranked team, go down yesterday, and it looks like Hopkins is going to go down, the 7th-ranked team in the country, go down today.
I'll tell you who you don't want to be next week, and that's a Hopkins player during practice, during that film session. Coach Petromalo is going to have a lot of ammunition to go with these guys next week. And, tough performance today, but Coach Petro is going to get these guys dialed in. He's going to get this team back on track. They are going to respond. This is not it's obviously only the first game.
It's not over.
Yeah, it's not over. It's not going to be the end of Hopkins. They got a ton of talent on this team. Obviously got some things they need to figure out, but Coach Petro and his staff, they've been here. They've coached great teams. They know what they're doing. they'll get these guys dialed back in, and you're going to see a much more competitive team in Hopkins. And again, sometimes something like this, if the coach uses it to his advantage, wakes your guys up a little bit. Like I said, gives you a lot of ammunition for practice over the next few weeks, and maybe brings these guys back down to earth and gets them dialed in again and start to have some better performances.
By the way, life only gets more difficult for Hopkins. They get Loyola next week, who currently is taking care of Virginia in their opener. So the Greyhounds come to Homewood, and 4 of the first 5 games are on the road for this Hopkins squad, as they got to go to Carolina, to Princeton, and to Syracuse after that showdown, the Charles Street rivalry against Loyola next weekend.
Well, sometimes it's good to get another big game right after a tough loss like this. Get you refocused in. And, if you believe in your team and if you got a confident group, then you're okay with that. So we'll find out a lot about this team next week, obviously, like you said, against Loyola. But I would expect a much better performance from this squad.
Towson content to run a lot of the shot clock down. McLean gets caught up, still maintains control. Skip pass to the other McLean. That's Jake from downtown, and a stop there from Darby. What do you make of Ryan Darby and Cage in a tough spot here? He's been staring down the barrel of some rifles.
You're 100% right. I was just going to say, I kind of feel for the kid. His defense really has not helped him at all today. A lot of odd man situations, doorstep type shots, even the shots from distance, guys wide open, taking 2 or 3 steps, getting their hands back, having all day to shoot it. So that they've really, and I'm almost glad that Coach Petro didn't pull him, because a lot of these goals were not him. There's certain times when you watch a goalie play, you could see he's guessing, not seeing the ball well, letting in, contested, shots that he should be saving. But of these 17, there was really no easy ones that he let in. He's really seen a lot of rubber here today. And again, his defense really kind of left him on an island, and it's, totally, anybody who knows anything about lacrosse knows this was not on the goalie here today.
Yeah. We've got a flag down, so Hopkins sitting on another extra man opportunity here as things wind down in the 4th. DeSimone's shot never got through. Kept alive by Catoni with 3 seconds on the shot clock. And that will trigger the start of the extra man. So we get the penalties sorted out. Just a reminder, next week's CAA Game of the Week, it features the defending conference champions. UMass takes on Ohio State. Coming off a trip to the NCAA tournament, the Minutemen looking to make an early impression with a win over one of the top programs from the Big Ten. Face-off set for 1 p.m. Eastern here on Saturday, February 16th. It's live on Lax Sports Network, any of the free LSN apps. Looking at another good one as Ohio State was able to take care, or in the process of taking care of business today against Boston University, as we had an offsides call against Towson. Ohio State looking to get to 2-0, and they've got a lead in the 4th quarter over BU. Meanwhile, UMass early on in that one in the first half, a couple of goal lead over Army. So 2 programs that may be ranked in the top 20 when they enter next weekend, when we take you to Western Massachusetts for our CAA Game of the Week. As this thing winds down, Steve, what has impressed you the most about what we saw from Towson today?
Really everything, the whole overall performance. 6-on-6 defense, they look great. 6-on-6 offense, they look great. Transition offense, they look good. The goalie, who's technically their backup, played really well. Woodall, what haven't we said about him today? So it's everything, really. I can't, pinpoint one thing that was really the difference in this type of a win. They've just looked solid all around. They stayed out of the penalty box. They looked good man up. Everything was just totally dominant today.
Towson outscoring Hopkins 15-4 after being down 4-2 in the first quarter. And whether Coach Sean Nadalin said something or this team just decided this was going to be a different game, but just a completely dominant performance after the first 15 minutes by the Tigers. A couple of the starters still in there, and Brett Baskin for Hopkins. And we've got a yard sale as Kobe Smith. Not only does he have a couple of goals, he'll get a caused turnover there as well. And Towson a chance to run out the clock as the shot clock is now off. Andrew Beecham content to take his time and run the last 40 seconds off of a impressive Tigers win. The most goals they've ever scored against Johns Hopkins. 17 goals by the Tigers today. Jack Kimmel, the freshman, getting a chance to run out a victory for the Tigers on Johnny Unitas Stadium. Towson, the upset is complete. The Tigers knocking off the 7th ranked team in the country, 17-8.